Torsional pendulum. This is an experiment to determine the moment of inertia of circular disc and also determine the rigidity modulus of the suspended wire. First of all, what is torsion? Torsion is the twisting of an object. If you look at the object, so I am applying a torque and the body is getting twisted. And now what is torque? Torque is the rotating force capable of twisting an object. Torsional pendulum was developed by Robert Wesley in 1793. Torsional pendulum clock was in fact invented and patented by American Crane in 1841. Torsional oscillations is the only method or approach to determine the moment of inertia of irregular bodies and gravitational constant G even today. Can you believe it? It is an experimental setup consisting of a circular disc, as you see, like mass, suspended from a thin wire having two chuck nuts. When the mass is rotated, here it is the disc. About the axis of the wire exerts a torque on the disc tending to rotate back to its original position. That is, when you rotate the disc and you twist the wire, and if you leave the disc and the wire try to bring back to its original position. That is, if twist is released, the circular disc will execute periodic oscillations about the axis of suspension perpendicular to its plane. These oscillations are called torsional oscillations. As we all know, in linear kinetics, the inertia refers the resistance of a body to acceleration, and mass is the measure of inertia. In rotational motion, the moment of inertia refers to the resistance of a body to rotational acceleration and is a measure of the torque required to any change in angular momentum of the body. It depends on the mass distribution and the axis of suspension of the body. Here in this experiment, the couple acting at the free end of the wire is called shearing stress. So at the free end, they are providing the shearing stress to the wire by rotating the disc. And angular deformation produced at the fixed end of the wire is called shearing strain. Is it clear? The rigidity modulus of the material of the wire is defined as the ratio of shearing stress to shearing strain within the elastic limit. And hence, one can also find the rigidity modulus and shear modulus using this experimental setup. So now let us see the apparatus required to carry out the experiment in order to determine the moment of inertia of the metal disc and also the rigidity modulus of the given wire. The apparatus required are the circular disc, as you observe, and the thin metallic wire to suspend the metal disc, vernier caliper to measure the diameter of the disc from which we can get the radius of the metal disc, and also the screw gauge to know the thickness of the wire from which we can find the radius of the wire. And another important thing is to have a stopwatch to know the period of oscillations of the torsional pendulum. Okay. Now the circular disc, as you see separately, to be suspended at the free end of the wire. One end is fixed, the other end is free, to which we have fixed the disc. And at the free end of the given experimental wire, we have the disc. So the wire and the disc constitutes torsional pendulum. Now suspended circular disc at the free end to be given a small twist to execute torsional oscillations. By knowing the time taken to complete one oscillation using the stopwatch, we can find the time period. And now let us see how to determine the moment of inertia of the disc as well as the rigidity modulus of the given wire using the formula. Now, by having the expression to know the moment of inertia of the metal disk, as you see here, as I equal to mr squared by 2, where m is the mass of the metal disk, which we find using electronic balance, r is the radius of the metal disk, which we found using the vernier caliper. We are able to find moment of inertia of the metal disk. Is it clear? Now, the rigidity modulus of the given material wire n equal to 8 by I by r power 4 into L by T square, where I is the moment of inertia, which we measured and which we found using the formula mr squared by 2. R is the radius of the wire, which we found using the screw gauge, and L is the length of the pendulum. As I told you, that is the distance between the two chucks, and T is the time period which we have measured using stopwatch executing torsional oscillations. So, by knowing L by T square and R radius of the wire, I moment of inertia of the metal disk, we are able to determine the rigidity modulus of the material of the wire.
Now, let us look at the experiment to determine the moment of inertia of the given circular disk and hence to find the rigidity modulus of the given wire. The formula to calculate the rigidity modulus of the given wire is eta is equal to 8 pi I by r power 4 into L by T square. Unit for rigidity modulus is Newton per meter square, where I is the moment of inertia, which is given by m r square by 2, unit kilogram meter square, where m is the mass of the circular disk in kilogram, r the radius of the circular disk in meter, small r represents the radius of the given wire in meter, and L the length of the torsional pendulum in meter, and T corresponds to the time period in second. So if you look at the formula to calculate the rigidity modulus, so if you know the mass of the metal disk and radius of the circular disk, we can find out the moment of inertia. Now, what is small r? The small r corresponds to the radius of the given wire, which you can measure with the help of a screw gauge. Now, what is this L? L corresponds to the length of the torsional pendulum, and T is the time period. So, the only unknown quantity in this formula is T. So, now in this part of this experiment, we are going to determine the time period for the torsional pendulum. So, the tablet column is determination of time period. So, you have the length of the suspension wire, time taken for 10 oscillations for trial 1. We are going to repeat the same for trial 2. Take the average of two values. Next, you have to calculate the period of oscillation. We have previously calculated time taken for 10 oscillations. What is period of oscillation? Time taken for 1 oscillation. Next, L by T square. Find L by T square and write the average mean value. So in this part, in this tablet column, we are going to determine the time period, for which consider this is the torsional pendulum setup. Okay. Initially, the length of the suspension wire is adjusted to 30 centimeter. Now, torsional oscillations are set up by giving a small twist. Now, I am going to give a small twist. Please listen carefully. The pendulum should be at rest before applying a small twist. Now, applying a small twist and release it. Can you see the oscillations? The pendulum is executing simple harmonic oscillations. Now we are supposed to calculate the time taken for a length of 30 centimeter. What is the length of the torsional pendulum? The length of the torsional pendulum is 30 centimeter. For this height, we need to measure the time taken for 10 oscillations. Okay. Can you see the stopwatch? So initially the reading in the stopwatch is 0. So you have two buttons in the stopwatch. This button is to start and stop the time, and this is to reset. Okay, I'll show you. Now I have started. The clock is running. You can stop it. So if you want to bring it back to 0, you have to press reset. So this is how you have to use a stop clock. Now the oscillations are going on. Okay, now I'm going to stop it. Once again, I'm going to apply a small twist. Twist and rest. You apply a small twist. Release it. So there should not be any wobbling or vibration. A pin is fixed in the circular disc for reference. Okay. Now with reference to this pin, you can count the oscillation. Now the pendulum is oscillating. One oscillation corresponds to one to and fro motion. Okay. You can keep your finger or you can take this point as the reference point. Now when the pin reaches the extreme end, you can start the clock. Okay. Now listen carefully. I'm going to start the clock. The pin is moving to the extreme end. So now count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Stop. Now down the time taken for 10 oscillations. Okay. So first, the length of the wire is 30. Trial 1 we got 20 seconds. Okay. Now you reset the clock to 0. Now you stop the pendulum. Trial 1 is over. Now you have to repeat the experiment for trial 2 for the same length. We have not changed the length. For the same height, we have to repeat trial 2. Now the pendulum has come to rest. I am applying a small twist. Release it. Okay. Now start the stop clock when the reference pin moves to the extreme end. Okay. Watch carefully. I have started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now record the reading in the tablet column. For trial 2, this is the reading. 20 seconds. Again, I am getting 20. Now, we have to do this experiment by changing the length of the suspension wire. We have taken for 30 centimeter. Now you can increase the length of the pendulum. Second length, we are going to increase it to 40. Now we are going to release this chuck and we are going to increase the length of the pendulum from 30 to 40. Now, by releasing the chuck, the length of the pendulum is increased from 30 to 40. Now, for this length, we have to measure the time taken for 10 oscillations, 2 trials. First trial by applying a small twist. We can take this point as the reference point. If you have doubt, you can leave 1 or 2 oscillations. When the pin moves to the extreme end, we have to start the clock. Okay, now listen carefully. I'm going to start the clock when it moves to this extreme end. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now stop the clock and note down the time taken for 10 oscillations for the height 40 centimeter. So the time taken is 24 seconds. Now reset the clock. Now start counting the oscillations and measure the time taken for 10 oscillations for trial 2. Now I'm going to take this point as the reference point. I'm going to start the clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stop the clock. Note down the time taken for trial 2 for 10 oscillations. The time taken is 24 seconds. In a similar way, you have to repeat this experiment for different lengths of the pendulum starting from 50, 60, 70 and 80. For different heights, you have to measure trial 1 and trial 2. Find out the mean value, period of oscillation and L by T square. Now I will explain you how to do the calculations. So we have calculated the time taken for 10 oscillations for the length 30 and also 40. This column corresponds to trial 1 20 seconds, trial 2 20 seconds. So mean of these two will give you 20 again 20 seconds. The next column is period of oscillation. Period of oscillation is time taken for one oscillation. What we have written in the experiment is we have calculated the time taken for 10 oscillation. Now 20 by 10 will give you the period of oscillation. That is 2.0. What is the next column? L by T square. L by T square is equal to L is 30 centimeter. Converting to meter, you have to put a 10 power minus 2. 30 into 10 power minus 2 divided by T for 30 centimeter is 2. Is T square, 2 square. This is equal to 7.5 into 10 power minus 2 meter per second square. This is the L by T square value for the length 30. Similarly, you have to find L by T square for 40. Trial 1, 24 seconds. Trial 2, again 24. The average of these two is again 24. If you period of oscillation is time taken for one oscillation, divide this by 10 will give you 2.4. L by T square for the length 40. L by T square is equal to 40 into 10 power minus 2 divided by 2.4 the whole square. This will be 6.9 into 10 power minus 2 meter per second square. This is L by T square value for the length 40. Now write the value in the tabular column. The first one is 7.5 into 10 power minus 2. Second one is 6.9 into 10 power minus 2. Similarly, you do the calculations for the rest of the values and find out the mean of the L by T square value. So we have done the experiment for all the lengths starting from 50, 60, 70 and 80 and we have calculated the time taken for 10 oscillations for trial 1 and trial 2. Similarly, you have to repeat this experiment for the entire length of the pendulum. And we have calculated the mean of L by T square is equal to 7.26 into 10 power minus 2 meter per second square. Now I will show you how to do the calculations. Now I will show you the parts in the vernier caliper. This is an immovable jaw. This is a movable jaw. This movable jaw is attached to a slide screw and you have a locking screw over here. If this locking screw is made tight, you may not be able to move the movable jaw. Now, if you want to move this movable jaw, just release the lock screw so that you can move it. So, while taking measurements, if you're going to measure the diameter of the given disc, the disc you have to place the two jaws, you have to place the disc in between the two jaws. Now, I have released it and I'm sliding it towards the immovable jaw to measure the zero error for this instrument. So, this is 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. This graduation corresponds to the main scale, and this lower scale corresponds to the vernier scale. Now you can see the 0 of the vernier exactly coincides with the 0 of the main scale, which means the 0 error for this instrument is nil. Now fix the circular disc in between the two jaws of the vernier caliper, the lower jaws of the vernier caliper. I am doing it, and I am locking the screw. Okay, for this position, we have to measure the main scale and the vernier scale coincidence. Now we have measured the diameter for the circular disc. Now you have to see the coincidence of the 0 of the vernier with the main scale. The 0 of the vernier exactly coincides with 116 on the main scale, and hence the main scale reading for this measurement is 116. In a similar way, you have to measure the vernier scale coincidence. So in vernier scale, you can see the graduation starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. So this 0 is 0. Now 1 in between 0 and 1, there are 4 divisions, including 1, 5 divisions. So make 1 as 5, 2 as 10, 3 as 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. So in total, there are 50 graduations on the vernier scale. So if you look, if you have a closer look, the 48th division on the vernier scale exactly coincides with any one division on the main scale. So I repeat, the 48th division exactly coincides with any one of the division on the main scale, and hence the vernier scale coincidence for this particular reading is 48. Main scale reading is 116. Vernier scale coincidence is 48. In a similar way, you have to measure for likewise measure 4 more readings, 2, 4, 5, and complete this tabular column and find out the mean value. Now the formula to calculate PSR is equal to VSE into least count. Least count is 0.02. VSE for the first measurement is 48. 48 into 0.02 is equal to 0.96. Now the formula to calculate OR is MSR plus VSR. MSR is 116 plus VSR is 0.96. This is equal to 116.96 mm. 116.96 mm. Now correct reading, the formula is OR plus or minus 0 correction. For this instrument, the 0 error is nil, and hence the 0 correction is also nil. The final answer is, that is the correct reading is 116.96. In a similar way, you calculate OR and CR for the rest of the readings. The mean diameter what we have calculated is 116.96 millimeter. We calculated the diameter for the circular disc. We have to find out the radius. Diameter by 2 is radius. R is equal to D by 2. This is equal to 116.96 by 2. R is equal to the radius of the circular disc is 58.48 millimeter. Now I will show you how to measure the radius of the suspension wire with the help of a screw gauge. Next, we have to measure the radius of the suspended wire with the help of a screw gauge. First, let me explain the parts of the screw gauge. This is the stud, this is the spindle, this is the pitch scale, and this is the head, and the head scale is attached to a ratchet. So you have to rotate this ratchet so that the spindle moves towards the anvil. So the object for which you have to measure the diameter has to be placed in between the stud and the screw. Before measuring, we have to note down for the zero error and zero correction. So I am moving the ratchet so that the spindle moves and it touches the stud. So for this case, the zero of the main pitch scale coincides with the zero of the head scale. So there is no zero error. If there is no zero error, the zero correction is also zero. Now I'll show you how to measure the diameter of the suspended wire. Now place the wire, the suspended wire in between the screw and the stud and rotate the ratchet. Yes. Now you have to fix at this position. For this position, we have to note down the pitch scale reading and the head scale coincidence. I'll show you the reading. The pitch scale, the head scale has crossed 0.5 mm on the pitch scale. So the pitch scale reading is 0.5 mm and you have to note down the head scale coincidence. The coincidence of any one of the division on the head scale with the horizontal line on the pitch scale. So this has crossed or it is exactly coinciding with the 49th division on the head scale. So the reading is head scale coincidence is 49 and the pitch scale reading is 0.5 mm. First reading PSR, write it as 0.5, head scale coincidence 49. Now we have to find out the head scale reading. Head scale reading is head scale reading equal to head scale coincidence into least count. Head scale coincidence is 49 into least count 0.01. This is equal to 0.49 mm HSR. Now write down this value over here. This becomes 0.49. Now observe reading OR is equal to, the formula is PSR plus HSR. That is equal to PSR is 0.5, 0.5 plus 0.49. The answer is 0.99 mm. Now you have to write the correct reading. Since the zero error for this instrument is nil, zero correction is also nil, which is corrected reading will be equal to the observed reading, 0.99 mm. Likewise, do the measurements at 5 different places of the suspended wire. The mean value, the mean diameter of the wire is 0.99 mm. Now we have to find the radius. Small r is equal to d by 2. That is equal to 0.99 divided by 2. Mean radius is r is equal to 0.495 mm. We have calculated the diameter of the circular disc with the help of vernier and also the diameter of the thin wire with the help of screw gauge, from which we found out the radius of the circular disc and also the radius of the given wire. Now we have to do the calculation and find out the rigidity modulus of the given wire and moment of inertia of the circular disc. The formula to calculate moment of inertia of the circular disc is given by moment of inertia is I is equal to m r square by 2, where m is the mass of the circular disc and r is the radius of the circular disc. The mass of the circular disc after measuring from the physical balance is given as 1.63 kilogram into the radius of the circular disc. What we have calculated from the vernier is 58.48 into 10 power minus 3 the whole cube. Whole square divided by 2. So upon solving this, you will get 5574.45 into 10 power minus 6 divided by 2. This is equal to the moment of inertia of the disc I is equal to 2787 into 10 power minus 6, or you can write it as 2.787 into 10 power minus 3 kilogram meter square. So this is the value of the moment of inertia of the circular disc. Now the moment of inertia is calculated. We can find out the rigidity modulus of the given wire by substituting the value of I. The formula to calculate rigidity modulus is eta is equal to 8 pi into I divided by small r power 4 into L by T square Newton per meter square. Now this L by T square we have already calculated from the tabular column. I is 2.787 into 10 power minus 3, and the mean radius we have calculated from the screw gauge measurements. Now upon substituting all the values, 8 into 3.14 into value of I is 2.787 into 10 power minus 3 into the value of L by T square, what we have calculated from the tabular column is 7.26 into 10 power minus 2. The whole thing divided by R. The value of R is 0.495 into 10 power minus 3, the whole power 4. This is equal to, first write the power alone. You will have 10 power minus 3 minus 2, 10 power minus 5 divided by 10 power of minus 3, the whole power of 4 is 10 power of minus 12. Now multiply all the values in the numerator. That will give you 506.99. 506.99 divided by 0.495, the whole power 4 is 0.060037. So if you divide 506.99 by this answer, the final answer is 8,444.459 into 10 power, you have 10 power minus 5 and 10 power minus 12. This becomes 10 power minus 7. If this goes to the numerator, it becomes 10 power plus 7. Now you have to write the answer in 10 power plus 10. So plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. 8.44 into 10 power 10 Newton per meter square. This is the value of the rigidity modulus of the given wire. Now plot the graph between length and T square. The tabular column is shown here. From the previous tabular column, note down the value of L and the corresponding T, find out T square. For the length 30, the time period we calculated is 2, T square is 4. Similarly, do it for the 6 values up to 80. Now you will have L and T square. Now plot a graph between L and T square. For 30, it is 4. Mark the point. 40, it is 5.76. Is here. For 50, it is 6.76. For 60, it is 8.41. For 70, it is 9. And for 80, it is 11.56. Now mark all the points and join the points with the help of scale. Now find out the slope. Now in this case, I am going to find out the slope between these 2 points. slope is equal to y by x. This is equal to y is t square by L, or you can find out 1 by slope. 1 by slope it will be equal to L by t square. Now what is the L? 60 minus 40, that is 20 into 10 power minus 2 divided by t square. Between 40 and 60, this minus this. 5.76 minus 8.4, that will give you 7.547 into 10 power minus 2. This is the value of 1 by slope. Formula for rigidity modulus is eta is equal to 8 by I divided by R upon 4. Instead of L by t square, we can substitute 1 by slope. 1 by slope Newton per meter square. And find out the value of the rigidity modulus of the given wire by graphical method. You have to compare the value with the previous value what you have calculated from the experiment.
Now, I think all of you have a clear idea about how to determine the rigidity modulus of the given wire by determining the moment of inertia for the given metal disc also. So just I want to share with you in conclusion about the applications that is highly relevant to all engineers like you. Now coming to the daily life examples of shear strength or shear modulus, I hope all of you have some good idea. Just I want to recall the cutting of a piece of paper with pair of scissors, wringing cloths after washing, cleaning a piece of cloth and painting a wall, brushing your teeth, applying a cream to the face, rubbing your hands, are all these practical examples where we come across shear stress or shear modulus. Now coming to the engineering applications, any rotating body which transfer power from the source to load is called shaft. The materials used in this case should require not only adequate strength, but also able to withstand torque in operation. In many areas of engineering applications, materials are sometimes subject to torsion in services. For example, in automobiles like buses, vans, and lorries, driving shaft, as you all know, an axle. Under the body of all these vehicles, you have seen transmit power to the wheels. And also in the case of twisted drills in a drill bit, the shaft what you have, using which you make a hole in the metal plates, the drill bits have a very good the shear modulus. Moreover, structural applications such as bridges, springs, car bodies, and boat hulls are randomly subjected to torsion. Also, rivets and bolts, which hold two plates of airplane fuselage, pulled apart, are subjected mainly by shear stress. When an aircraft moves at high speed, the body of the aircraft experiences good amount of shear stress, where you have a large number of rivets which holds two plates together, should have a very high, should have the ability to withstand shear stress while flying. And another interesting application, in the case of moving coil meters like galvanometers, ammeters, and voltmeters, Phosphor bronze fiber we use. What is the need of going for phosphor bronze fiber or quartz fiber? This fiber has a very interesting property, having a very low restoring torque per unit twist, but at the same time, very high tensile strength, which is very essential In the case of moving coil meters, which we use to measure current, voltage, and also this moving coil galvanometer or voltmeter and ammeter has got a coil at the center of a magnet when to which we attach a needle. The coil is attached to a needle which is at the center of a magnet. When current flows through the coil rotates and the needle moves and shows the correct reading. When the current is cut off, immediately the needle comes back to zero. This shows the coils should rotate when a small current flows, and that is possible when you have a very small restoring torque per unit twist. But at the same time, it should have a very high tensile strength in order to come back to its original state. These two properties, unique properties, the phosphor bronze fiber and quartz fiber also possess, which today we are using in all moving coil meters for measurement of DC and AC, voltage or current. So it's a very interesting application. Am I right? Okay. Now let us see about some of the questions that may make you to think. Once if you have a good understanding of the shear stress, I hope you can answer for these three questions. The first question is, why is a hollow shaft is stronger than a solid rod of the same length and same mass? This we all of us know while constructing building, while constructing structures, we go for hollow pipes, and that too we go for circular hollow pipes, not square tubes. That too you can think why we are going for instead of circular disc or rectangular solid pipes, we go for circular hollow pipes. What is the need for it? Please think about it. And not only that, now can you name materials that possess non-zero shear modulus and materials with zero shear modulus? Can you think about it? Please. Now, coming to the last question, what you can understand about the materials if shear modulus is zero and if the shear modulus is infinity? For these three questions, if we answer, that means you are a good engineer who can do wonders.